Hello everybody, Brian Schwager, founder of Wellness Movement Services, and I have an interesting success story I'd like to share with you. But before we get started, I'm in my new office space here on Amelia Island in Fernandina Beach. Today I have a little success story video, but before I get to that, I kind of wanted to preempt and get a little background on this surfing athlete that I started working with. I think it was right around the end of January. He gave me a call. He was in Arizona at the time. He was flying to Jacksonville and wanted to work with me. I wasn't quite open yet, so I started. He had rented an Airbnb, and that's where I did the first part of my assessment. Pretty interesting. So as always, I did a pretty in-depth consultation with this gentleman over the phone, and then found out more about what his goals are, his health and fitness goals. And then we decided to embark on a journey of finding out what his movement restrictions are and to get a movement rating so that I can help him with his surfing abilities. Now, he's been surfing since 2004. He's surfed in many different environments, both around the coast, on the West Coast, here down in Florida. He's been down to South America, and then he also likes to skimboard as well. And he has a couple of other recreational activities he likes to do, like volleyball and pickleball, and he thinks he's going to be picking up some tennis and some golf, but his primary recreation is surfing. So I took him through an assessment at this house. We cleared out the space. It was pretty interesting. I think I've only done 2 of those. He was the second one I've done out of a home since I relocated down here to Jacksonville. So in any event, I opened up on February 1st, and then I brought him in here. And what you're going to see is you're going to see the second half. Because unfortunately, when I saw him the first time, he had no pain. But we got going into the, because I have 2 different assessments. I have one for people that don't have pain, which is called my athletic movement screen, or a basic physical assessment. And then I have one for people who are experiencing pain, and that's more of the comprehensive physical assessment. And I do more than just look at movement. So if you don't know what my assessments entail, just go to my website, wellnessmovementservices.com. Go under the menu under probably performance enhancement training would be a good place to start. If you're an athlete, you can see what I do there. If you're not really the athletic type, then look under wellness movement treatments, and then you can see how I break things up. Well, that day I was out there doing it at this Airbnb. He had a little bit of right rib pain in the back, so I had to change protocols and change the assessment tests to being more clinical. Then it wasn't that bad, working with a couple of different practitioners he's working with. And long story short, we got over here, his pain was gone. And then I took him through a full functional movement screen and all the other fun things that I like to do with people that are moving beyond what I call corrective therapeutic exercise. And he shot right up the ladder as far as his rating. You know, I've been rating movement since 2009. And since 2009, I've had only a small handful of people come in and kind of move right through it. I mean, they responded very well, and I was able to clear their basic physical assessment and get them right back to their sport, their activity. And he's now one of those. I think I've only had 5 people do that. He wants to just improve his movement on his skimboard and his surfboard, and he immediately had a positive response. And I have a little video footage of him skimboarding down here on Amelia Island on the beach. And he had said to me, not that day, but a couple of days before when he was out, he said he's able to do movements he hasn't done before. This gentleman, his name is Michael. You know, he flew here. He's got family on the island, but he flew here. We worked in Jacksonville first at the Airbnb, and then we came into my studio. He didn't spend a whole lot of time here. I mean, he was here for a couple of weeks, and then he had some business. Then he came back for about 7 days, and now he's down in Sarasota working and following the system I created for him that he can do down there with my videos, because I do everything customized, and even the videos are customized to the user. He'll come back in, I don't know, a couple of more weeks, and then I'm going to double check a few things and design a longer training system for him to follow on his own with tutorial videos. So, you know, I'm honored to have such a, an advanced client, an ideal client that is ready to embark on the journey that it takes to improve your wellness and movement, because I'm not just doing the movement part with them. I'm doing the holistic lifestyle coaching, and we're looking at the 4 principles right from the beginning. I look at principle 1. How is he handling emotional stress? I look at principle 2, how is his sleep? I'm looking at principle 3, how is his digestion, and what and when is he eating and drinking? And then lastly, with all the assessments, I'm looking at how he's moving. And in all areas, he did the full rating, and all of his ratings are going up. All right, so I want you to enjoy this little snippet video of me taking him quickly through mostly parts of the functional movement screen, and then we'll end that video with a little fun video of him just skimboarding on a sunny afternoon down on the beach. All right, have a great day. Stay empowered, keep your mind right, and that'll keep your body right. All right, bye for now. This is the rotary stability test in the functional movement screen, and it is considered, out of all the 7 screening tests, one of the toughest ones to accomplish. He had a little bit of a challenge at first trying to clear this, and then we did some corrective strategies to help him enhance his motor control, his stability. And I also did some mobility work, because that tightness can also get in the way of our progress. And you'll see here, after we did the correctives, he cleans it right up. And this is a harder of the 2 sides, and he still did better than the first time around. And here he clears the rotary stability test altogether. Here I'm taking Michael through the trunk stability push-up test, and you notice how high his hands up. They're up by his temples. He has to push straight off the floor like a plank, comes straight up without any wavering in his trunk, and he gets a perfect 3 on that test. Here's a more primal pattern inline lunge test. He didn't do too bad in the last 2 with the right foot back, just a little bit of wavering. But when he had the left foot back, things changed. There was the imbalance that I noticed, and we already cleaned this up. But see how important it is to look at the person's movement quality from side to side. Same thing here. He had a really smooth hurdle step, not a lot of deviations in his posture or in his core function, which is more dynamic core function. And he got a perfect 3 on this test. And here's the deep squat. He did awesome on the deep squat. Now he got a level 2, and then he came back 2 or 3 days later and we cleaned that up all the way. This is one of my dynamic core function tests. This is called the supine lateral ball roll. And here I'm testing his tilting reflexes because that's what he's going to use when he gets on his skimboard and his surfboard. Now the objective is he should be able to transition himself towards me without letting that pole drop unnecessarily to one side or the hips rotating unnecessarily to one side. In other words, we're trying to keep his upper torso and his lower torso parallel to the ground. We had a little bit of work to do on this one, but he's already cleared that. Here's the multi-directional lunge, and I'm testing his core function with multiple directions in lunging, whether it be forward, diagonal, sideways, or backwards and diagonal, to determine, again, which side of the body has more of an imbalance. Is it when he steps out with his right, or is it when he steps out with his left? Remember, the 2 leading causes of injuries, 2 of the most, are a previous injury and musculoskeletal imbalances. And when you have an imbalance from one side to the other, your risk for injury goes up. Here's another tilting reflex test, just kneeling on stability ball with his hands down at his sides to see if he can maintain good postural alignment while he's on that ball. And then here are some of the correctives we did for the few tests that were a little bit lower than desired. And these are the corrective strategies that elevated his test scores. We do the corrective strategies. I take him back over to the inline lunge or whatever I'm going to retest to measure and see, is that what he needs to improve that imbalance? And that is exactly what he needed for that. Here's a pushing pattern, just getting him ready, working full range of motion. I'm going to start him out with tubing, but he's using cables down in Sarasota right now. But I used the tubing in session or while he was here for various reasons. There's a whole reason between using tubing versus dumbbells and cables. I also want to mention that core function does change once you get to half kneeling, standing, or even in a split stance position. And here's a retest on that lateral ball roll, and the 2 dowels give you an idea how well he did. And here's where the rubber meets the road. Let's see how his body responds. And like I said a few days prior to this videotaping, he said he was able to do maneuvers he has never done before. Great job, Michael.